with us is Kirsten Haglund, conservative political commentator, and Richard Fowler, national syndicated radio host and a Fox News contributor. Richard, a lot of this, of course, hinges on whether or not President Trump was trying to get Comey to drop the investigation. Democrats say if that is true, that would be obstruction of justice, which, of course, is an impeachable offense. Now, Jim Comey's memo back in February, according to reports, suggested that he was receiving pressure from the president. But listen to what Comey said in sworn testimony. Again, he had to be sworn in for this on May 4th about whether he was asked whether or not he did receive political pressure to drop investigations. Listen to this.
Has it happened?
Not in my experience, because it would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that without an appropriate purpose. I mean, oftentimes they give us opinions that we don't see a case there, and so you ought to stop investing resources in it. But I'm talking about a situation where we were told to stop something for a political reason. That would be a very big deal. It's not happened in my experience.
It hasn't happened in my experience. Richard, doesn't that destroy the suggestion that he received political pressure? There he said he never has.
Well, it's impossible to know that until we actually see
but that was sworn, Richard, that was sworn. Wait a minute. No, you wait. That was sworn testimony. Sworn testimony in which Comey said he had never received political pressure to drop an investigation. Go ahead.
We have to see what's in this memo, right? We have to see this memo in its entirety. And beyond that, we need to corroborate the story of two individuals. The vice president, who was in the room asked to leave, and the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who was in the room and asked to leave prior to the president speaking to Jim Comey. Once we can confirm that information, then we can have a conversation about whether or not there is an obstruction of justice charge at all. Now, I think, well, here's the good news here. We have the special prosecutor, Mueller's in place. He's going to get to the bottom of it. He's going to look at all the Comey memos. He's going to get all the information out. I think what we've got to do now, and what this president's got to do, is, like Kristen said at the beginning of the show, is have some message discipline, stop talking about it, stop calling it a witch hunt, and actually let this investigation take its course. And if there's no there, then he'll be cleared and we'll move on. If there is a there, then some folks will be going to jail.
Well, Kirsten, I see a contradiction in Comey's statement, what he allegedly said in these memos and what he said in sworn testimony, where he said there was no political pressure to drop an investigation. But I also see a contradiction in what the president has said. On the one hand, last night, as I said before, he had this memo that was calm, that was cool, that was saying, I didn't do anything, but let the investigation play its course. And then you had the tweets this morning and another statement saying the whole thing is a witch hunt.
Yeah, it's very difficult to know really who's talking about what they're saying, and I think that the press corps, you can see, is understandably frustrated about this. You know, the interesting thing is that now that there is a special counsel appointed to this, we aren't going to see a lot of information for a very long time. So people are going to have to find something else to talk about. But actually, President Trump did a really great job, actually, of staying on message during this press conference, which I thought was fascinating. His temperament was very even. He actually invited those questions as he saw him reach his arms out, showing he was unafraid to answer. And, for someone who didn't grow up being a politician and hasn't had that kind of experience, he did a very great job of, answering the question briefly and then pivoting back to what he wanted to brag about regarding his accomplishments. So as long as he keeps doing that, he should do that.
And
that's
he did
good,
that.
and let the investigation go on.
He definitely pivoted during that press conference. We witnessed that on our air. But Richard, really quick before you go, right before the 4 p.m. Eastern Time hour, we got breaking news out of Capitol Hill, and Rod Rosenstein, Stein, I keep saying that wrong, was actually doing a private briefing with the Senate, but of course that's never private because it was the full Senate. And Dick Durbin came out and said that he told them he knew that Comey was going to be fired beforehand. Doesn't that kind of take the red meat out of this for the Democrats, take the red meat out of the independent counsel's investigation into how this was handled between Comey and the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General?
No, not at all, because the FBI started this investigation back in July, right? And this investigation is about Russia colluding with our election. All 17 intelligence agencies have agreed that there is some level of Russian espionage in our election. Now, this special prosecutor,
But nobody's confirmed collusion. Not even the Reuters exclusive story talked about collusion between the two.
Well, all the 17 agencies agree that the Russians engage in our election. This special counsel, what they're going to do is get to the bottom of it. Did the Russians collude? Is there some form of espionage, and who is guilty on the United States side for engaging in this form of espionage? This investigation started in July, way before President Trump was even elected. So I think that's part of it. And I think the other part we have to realize here is whether we like it or not, the only reason why we're having this conversation today is because Donald Trump is an ineffective manager, and he fired James Comey at the wrong time.
I think this independent counsel, their findings are going to give us a lot more answers, and I think we're going to learn a lot more in the next couple of weeks. Kirsten and Richard, thank you.
We want to switch gears a little.